Ladies and gentlemen of the interwebs, we are live. We're here on our YouTube channel, on Twitter, and on Twitch. This is Chris, head coach, co-founder of Beacon DeFi, here with the weekly TVL Roundtable show. Today we have Robert back. Supposed to be on last week, on here in better health, and good to see you. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good, sir. GM, coming in from Mexico City here.
Yes. I was going to say Viva la Raza, but you know, I don't know.
You can see that.
How is your Spanish? Is it good?
Yeah, it's very good, actually.
Es bueno? Okay.
It's my bueno.
Very good.
It's not perfect.
Very
it's
good.
Not perfect, but it's solid, yeah.
No, that's good. It's a little bit of an open. I'm actually in the middle of my my first ever Diamond League tournament on Duolingo. For anybody who uses Duolingo, you might know what that means. I'm made it all the way to the top, got first place there, and now I'm in this 3-week tournament to try and really I'm not going to win it because I'm not, crazy hardcore. Like some people will just rack up 80,000 points in the first 3 days for being on it 15 hours. I'm like, that's not me. I'm just here casually trying to learn, Spanish, rekindle my French, Japanese, and Korean. But
you're going multilingual.
I'd like to say that I'd like to be a polyglot, but my brain is just so, especially with DeFi and just building Beacon, my brain, it's really just more of a break for my brain from everything here, just to try and get into something a bit structured and fairly mindless. So, but yeah, put a 1 in the chat if you have ever done Duolingo or if you're trying to learn that. Really, I know that Duolingo is a bit limited in terms of what you can do with it. For me personally, I'm just using it to kind of just get to this mountaintop point, and then I'll probably go to some better, I know there are way better comprehensive input sources and better ways, native speakers and stuff like that. I have Claude also, with some great routines for me to really just brush up on vocab and grammar, which really is the hardest part for me to wrap my head around. So anyway, way off topic. Let's go ahead and look at the market. Looking after what happened last week, obviously we are in a very interesting time. We've seen Bitcoin reclaim 64, ETH on the way back up to hopefully 2,800 or 3K. $5 Tether is somehow still on the table. I'm joking, it's not true. But, the one I'm very curious about, and we'll talk a little bit about today, is BNB. We were looking at the magical $200 level for BNB, which would have been massive liquidations across the entire ecosystem about 2 months ago. And now we're back up towards $600. And there's a specific former head of Binance who's coming out in 4 days from prison. So there's a lot of hoopla about that coming around. But yeah, the market's looking interesting. In particular, I was looking at a couple and some things we were talking about in our mastermind. Last week I was going through a farm along for Sui, and we've been talking about Sei quite a bit. Sei actually had a little bit of a short squeeze of sorts with this interesting Nessie move right here. So 74.4% up on the week. Sui is also up. Everything is quite a bit up. So obviously these rate cuts, so 46.7 for, and Tau, Tau is back up 84% of the last week. We're seeing some great moves as the Fed rate cut of 50 basis points, which a lot of people were, Polymarket had that being the thing. I personally thought it was going to be 25 and then 50 in November. We could see 50, from last week, and then 50 again in November. And that is some serious QE coming in to what's going to be going on here. So overall, some big moves here. Crypto bubbles, again, also huge over the last week. This is just today. Over the week before, we're seeing, a big move for quite a few of these. Wow, Popcat over 47. Some interesting reason Hex is above close to 60%. WorldCoin even at 43. Wow, there are some buyers bidding right now, Robert. And man,
I think
what a time.
Yeah, the market just it's it's tired of toiling around. It's bursting at the seams right now. It just wants to something, right?
Yeah, I mean, when we're close to October, right, which we normally have called Uptober, what an interesting setup that we have here. I mean, we were also going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Token 25 and Solana Breakpoint. Huge, huge, just overall news from the last week. And one reason why we haven't been able to get a ton of panelists on here, because everybody that I've talked to was in Asia, specifically for both Korea Blockchain Week, for Token 2049. And then there's a couple more events actually going into the next couple of weeks. So as people start coming back home, feel free to come on the Beacon Show. We'd love to have you. Hopefully next year, Robert, will be out that way, in the festivities. I know Token 2049 is going to be in December next year. There's also the Dubai event that'll probably be in the early summer. But then the big Token 2049 event that most people talk about, will be in Abu Dhabi in the UAE next December. So that should be a lovely time to be there. But yeah.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So it's going to be interesting. Before we head into the news, I just want to say hello to all of our Beacon Mastermind, our Beacon founding members, as well as our Beacon Accelerator and Spotlight members. Thanks for helping us do what we do. Again, if you ever want to learn about decentralized finance, like you saw the World Liberty Financial thing, you're like, what is this DeFi thing? We're also on Rumble now. If you want to look us up on Rumble and want to subscribe to us there, please do. We need 20 subscriptions to get to the live streaming portion so we can start streaming onto Rumble. I have everything already set up. We just need more users and subscribers, so feel free to get us on there. We're on the road to 1,000 members, Robert. We're at 900 members now. We're getting close to that 1,000. I'm thinking about all the giveaways I'm going to do once we hit that 1,000 members. May do a free workshop, one-on-one coaching opportunities, all kinds of things that are going to be available. Once we have that show for the TVL show, once we cross that 1,000 person milestone, it's going to be huge, especially since we launched TVL back on February 20th. So to have come this far this quickly has been really good for us. Again, absolutely free if you want to join our free group here. Also wanted to talk about our latest offering. We have our Beacon Spotlight offering. It's here under the pin post up here if you're curious about wanting to get some of the best information every week with videos, guides, and the best farms to find with our Beacon Spotlight offering. Please check it out. Love to have you. And that comes out every Thursday. What did you say? I'm sorry?
You're just around the corner from that milestone.
Yeah, really excited about that milestone. Anyway, we'll go ahead and move into something that Robert brought to my attention that I was looking at the timeline. China's making some moves based on the back of what's going on with the Fed rate cut. What was going to be essentially the reaction for China moving forward? And ultimately, there's going to be quite a bit of stuff that they've put out a raft of measures, if you want to call it that. These will also, of course, be in the show notes, available to our mastermind, our TVL members as well. It's looking like they're going to be taking the reserve ratios and cutting them by a 50 basis point cut, which will free up roughly about 1 trillion won, which is a lot of money, right? Ultimately, the property market, as we've talked about for more than 2 years now, has really led the way to the decline in China's economy. This is going to be, something that they're going to be looking to do moving forward. Their version of quantitative easing, and then specifically in this COINTELEGRAPH article, stuff like this is going to be huge, hopefully, for crypto. Mainly because there's also rumors, with that they're going to bring Bitcoin mining back into China. So, actually, what I will say, what I thought was interesting is that even though crypto mining is banned in China, if I can find it, I'll put it in the show notes. 55% of hash rate still comes from China, globally, and I'm like, how is that possible? But they'll figure out a way to make it happen.
That has always confused me ever since 2017. The constant every 2 years banning of Bitcoin and mining in China. I feel like it never really leaves.
No, it doesn't. And it's just interesting because we're also in this post-halvening system. We're in a really interesting point, right? We're the October, or the 100 days after the halvening every 4 years, is a very interesting move up. I need to see if I can find a graphic for that, but yeah, I think this is interesting. Seeing where we're going to be moving with the policy easing from both China and the U.S. I'm still watching to see if Bank of Japan, they have their, actually it's this week, they're voting for a new prime minister. If that new prime minister doesn't put in something for raising rates up to a full percentage point at the Bank of Japan for the yen carry trade, which we talked about a month ago, roughly. Of course, that was part of the, I guess, part of the issue with the flash crash that we saw. Yeah, I think this is a very interesting move that they're looking to do, easing globally at this point, which is obviously good for equities, good for crypto, and we'll see where we go from here. A lot more risk on coming, which is good to see. And I mean, I've seen 100K by the end of the year, 125K, specifically if Trump gets elected, 125K. If Harris gets elected, 75K for Bitcoin by the end of the year. With this coming in this past week, I think we might see some catalysts in October, which I think will be very interesting. Do you have any closing thoughts on this, Robert, before we move on?
Yeah, I think it's interesting to observe like the increase in global liquidity overall. Yeah, and I mean during a lot of what led the last bull market in 2020, 2021 was all the money printing, obviously, but that went really directly into the hands of retail that time. You know, with all the PUA money in the U.S. especially, and
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm curious to see how it factors into the market this time. I mean, obviously, like rate cuts and QE is automatically good for equities in general, but I'm curious to see how that spells out this time.
Yeah, we'll watch the M2, right? That I think that'll also be a key thing to watch moving forward. So, yeah, this is very bullish news. And we're going to be, I think we have a setup for a very interesting October. So, especially looking at the bubbles, I mean, a lot of bidding going on, guys. So really for you, if you're more of a trader or if you're a DeFi farmer, finding the coins that specifically are going to be leading moving forward. Even seeing something like AVAX, doing well at 19%, and, my lovingly good Rune at 29.4. Even Sol, with all of the news going on, is up just a little. They've recaptured 150. So this is going to be a very interesting lead up to the first part of October. So yeah, I'll go ahead and jump over to the next story about something that could also be a big part of the bidding portion. And again, I don't know where this is going to go, but CZ is going to the former head of Binance, Xiaopeng Zhao. He's being released after several months in prison, in literally 4 days, if you know the meme, the 4, which always refers to the other option, as he calls it. He'll be out, and he can no longer touch the business at Binance. They have a new CEO, Richard Teng. But that doesn't mean that him being free from a meme coin perspective isn't going to send the markets flying. He still has a ton of shares in the company. I'm not sure how that's going to be kind of put together. But overall, for not having proper AML or anti-money laundering laws and then some wire fraud they wanted to throw in there from the BOJ. I mean, he's paid more than $4.3 billion in fines. He still has a ton of money left in net worth. So I do expect to see some money flying around. So happy crypto bubbles. Will probably be happy crypto bubbles for our next couple weeks, getting into October. This is going to be interesting, to say the least, about what happens now that CZ is coming out of jail. there's a lot of things being listed on Binance right now, especially if you're a Telegram user and you farm Ton, getting your caddy, getting your hamster token. Launch pools are going to go a little, I think they're going to go a little crazy over the next couple of weeks. So have at it. Not financial advice. Do your own research.
Yeah, that is one thing that was very big with BNB and the whole BNB ecosystem and chain. In the last bull market was those launch pools.
Yeah. Exactly. So we'll see what happens. I'm personally excited to see what the market's going to do. One thing that we sometimes say as a meme in yield farming is that volatility potentially could be a yield farmer's best friend, especially now. If you're playing the markets like with concentrated liquidity, there's a lot of things you can do to profit off of the behavior of other investors. So watch out for your concentrated liquidity, watch out for your perp dexes. I'll be very curious to see where we end up 2 weeks from now, to see where at least where JLP, GLP, and some of these others are looking after those past couple weeks. And yes, we'll go ahead and move back over to ZKSync. That was part of the headline that we have here on the show today. Not specifically for anything in particular, other than they're building at ZKSync. I'm looking to hopefully get a statement from the team over at ZKSync about how they feel about a lot of buzz being put in the air. Aave is expanding to ZKSync, and now Treasure DAO. We talked about this, I think 2 weeks ago, about how the founders of Treasure DAO, or at least influential members in there, helped Arbitrum get the 225 million gaming catalyst program off the ground, which is roughly 200 million ARB given for studios and other developers over the next 5 years. And then last week they put this to a vote to move Treasure DAO, which is a long-standing protocol in Arbitrum for gaming. Magic is their token. And full transparency, I do have a Magic bag, or I did. They have decided to uproot and move their layer 2 for Treasure DAO over to ZKSync. And that passed with well over 99% of the vote, which I thought was interesting. After everything that was kind of going on and getting all that off the ground on Arbitrum, they're now kind of leaving for the ZKSync ecosystem, which is cool. I was talking to you, Robert, off this offline. I think that from a gaming perspective, I think fast transactions, fast time to finality makes sense for GameFi. Not that Arbitrum couldn't get past that type of stuff. They now have a decentralized sequencing system, thanks to Arbitrum DAO, and they also have more things coming down the pipe with all of their innovations, thanks to Stylus. But they're still an optimistic roll-up, so they have that 7-day challenge period for things like that. Not that that could really affect GameFi, but the fact that there's near instant finality in a zero knowledge proof roll-up ecosystem could be good for GameFi. Overall, it's probably also a little bit more performant to a degree. I don't know the details of how well ZKSync performs. It's not cheaper to use ZKSync for sure than Arbitrum, but in either case, this is interesting that they have decided to make this decision. It's good for Treasure DAO. Good to at least get some hype back on Magic. So we'll see what happens here. They also say at ZKSync that ZK is the endgame. That's kind of their new hook. So let's just say I don't think they'll be the first ones to make this move. Any thoughts on this before we move on?
Yeah, I think also like ZK EVM in general, just being like more highly integrated with actual Ethereum EVM.
Yeah.
More highly compatible for devs as well, and so that could also contribute to like greater building in the space, or more incentives for builders to hop on that. So
yeah, and I wanted to. I don't have it, but I do. I just have to find it. I have a book from East Denver from ZKSync on Explain Like I'm 5, how zero knowledge proofs work. It's really cool. It's like got great pictures and stuff on it. Maybe I'll bring it on next week. I'd have to take everything down because everything behind me is here in the lighthouse. Everything behind me is this wall right here. There's a lot of stuff like back there that I need to kind of reorganize. But yeah, this is big news for me personally, and not me, but for ZKSync. And I look forward to hearing from them exactly, how what's the best way for our groups to move forward and at least take advantage of all these new things that are coming. So there's a lot of stuff coming to ZKSync, guys. I was telling Andrew the other day, I honestly think that from a TVL perspective, obviously we had a lot of people leave after the airdrop came in. I think that's well past the bottom. I think we're on, and they're bringing new things over to ZK Nation. So excited to see where we go from there. Speaking of airdrops, one thing we've been talking a lot about on our calls is the rebirth of Fantom, specifically with Fantom Sonic. We've got a date, guys. We've got a date. December 2024 is the Fantom Sonic mainnet. They're looking to get to 10K plus TPS with 1 second time to finality. Now, at the time when they talked about this was big news because Phantom Opera overall really crippled by the multi-chain bridge exploit because, half the funds that were backing things there were on multi-chain, which was like, how did you let that happen? But now, we now have a date. A couple things to note if you're going to be farming this airdrop, which we've talked about, here on this show in the past. Couple things to look at specifically, and I'll have this here. The S token is going to be the new token of the ecosystem. It will be launched 6 months after the genesis of the chain. So we know that's December of 2024. So that means June or July 2025 will be when the token is going to launch, which means you have until then to not only farm Fantom Opera for more FTM token, because you can actually do a 1-to-1 swap for S token, but then you can also build your airdrop position because you can actually farm Fantom Sonic from December of 2024 all the way until the launch to get more airdrops. So if this is something you want to do, something that interests you, that's great. Just know that we've also talked about, and I think I have it. Nope, I don't. Here. Specifically with the other part, which is if you're going to get the airdrop, you're going to get 25% up front, and then the other 75% is going to be gamified on a decay schedule, meaning if you want all of it, you're going to have to wait 270 days for the other 75% that you're farming. Otherwise, you are giving up a specific amount every day up until there. So roughly about 5.5 months if you want the half of what's left of the other 75. But if you want the entire thing, you'll have to wait 270 days, which would probably put you well into 2026 for that. So one thing that Andre has been, go ahead.
Oh, it might be back in the bear at that point.
Well, I guess we'll see. Who knows, right? That to me, it's kind of an interesting game. That's an interesting long game that they've played. Andre's he's a smart guy. Regardless of what you want to think about Andre Cronio, he is a unicorn builder. At least 4 of the things he's brought to market have been absolute unicorns in the DeFi space. And one thing he's been talking about, and this is something that Andrew talked about last week on some of our calls, is he's really just hoping Andre just comes out with something interesting that will reshape the way that people look at DeFi. These are things that he's talked about, he's considered bringing on chain. First off is on-chain credit, first of all. That's one thing we talked about. I want to say we talked about that on our Beat the Banks training call, which is every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We have a free call. That would have been 2 weeks with Andrew. So he has a couple of other things that are here, like a blockchain bureau for on-chain credit, leverage spot with arbitrary margin assets, and protection markets, like just on-chain insurance, better on-chain insurance than what's currently out there. Could be interesting. Could be. More AMM curve stuff would be interesting. I'd like to see a good perp dex on a faster chain like this. Like Hyperliquid by far is now, the largest dex that's out there because of their quick time to finality, and we're going to see DYDX and Synthetics' Snacks chain coming around soon also with that type of stuff out there. So utilizing the tech here, again, they said 10,000 TPS plus throughput, very quick finality. Would love to see that type of stuff there. A a little overshadowed, to be quite honest, guys, with Say coming to market with V2, 15K TPS or 12.5, I think is the number. Kind of overshadowing that with parallelized EVM instruction, and it's available now. So we'll all see how it goes. But if you want to farm an airdrop, there's an airdrop definitely there for you to look into. So with that said, we'll go ahead and move into probably the other big news of the week, and that is former Alameda CEO Carline Ellison had her sentencing, 24 months in prison, plus forfeiting all of the gains she got from FTX, which is $11 billion. Do you have thoughts, Robert? I have thoughts.
I have a couple of thoughts. Well, first of all, that's a huge fortune. Yeah. And secondly, that's it does kind of feel like a slap on the wrist compared to the sentence for Sam Bankman-Fried.
Yeah, apparently the maximum she was going to get was 110 years, and the fact that Sam only got 25 for his role and everything, again, interesting. Obviously, for those who have been following, and let me tell you, if you want a rabbit hole for some crazy things that go on between people, you can certainly look through that rabbit hole. She's the star witness. She put SBF on a platter for the government. And again, think all you want about conspiracy theories and whatnot. The point for me is that you got someone like Ross Ulbricht, 2 life sentences for Silk Road. You got everyday people getting a decade for selling weed. You have, who is the other person? Other people who have served much harsher sentences for much lesser crimes. She's obviously going. Oh yeah, I mean she's going to get out of prison well before anyone ever gets a sniff of recovery of funds from the FTX debacle. The question that you'll see if you go on, and again, it's a huge rabbit hole, is this justice? Honestly, no. But this is what the system has become, the judicial system. You can be a star witness and snitch around. I mean, I'm not going to talk about where I come from about snitching, because that's just, no, we're just not going to get into that. But honestly, man, 24 months?
Well, I come from the same place. So.
Yeah, Polymarket actually had them saying she was going to get no time. They had it leaning towards that. So it's just like, I don't really know what to say.
Yeah, it's just it's incongruent with the other sentencing, and yeah, I definitely have my. I mean, there's some pretty obvious conspiracies there for sure.
Sure.
I don't want to hop on those either.
Yeah. So ultimately, she's going to serve her time. CZ served his time. Sam is serving his time. He's got the Mac Pack arbitrage going on there, but ultimately, we'll see what happens. There's all kinds of weird stuff going on in the world, man. It's like, I think about it, I'm just like, what is going on in the world?
Bizarre, right?
Yeah. And I mean, it all kind of bleeds together in some weird way. I mean, I'm waiting to see someone blame everything with Diddy on crypto. I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if that happens,
Yeah.
It's just, it's going to happen.
We're living in a bizarro time right now, for sure.
Absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of where everything kind of sits off of that type of stuff. We're going to move on to the bigger news. I have Celestia in the title. Basically, Celestia got $100 million raised on a recent raise, and that's sending the price further. They've got some new things coming up, and I think I talked about them last week. If not, I'll talk about them next week with some of the new things they have coming around with things on their roadmap. Oh, I did talk about last week. They have blocks for Celestia now 1 gigabyte, right? So big things are coming. It'll change the way that data availability is going to be carried out, honestly. So good for them for getting more money so they can bring more innovation. we'll see where we go from here. But for me, the story last week, Token 2049 was great. All I heard was people are partying. People have a lot of money. I hear Mantle's very rich. You know, that type of thing. There were 800 side events for a 2-day conference. 800. Drift had a Lamborghini just sitting outside some hotel with Drift logo stuff all over it. I mean, I appreciate being able to meet some of these people in person. Like I'm looking forward to meeting you in person, Robert, and everybody else who's been on the panel. But it's like, is there excess when it comes to stuff like this? Absolutely.
And that's pre-bull market.
I know. Yeah. It's pre-bull market, but it's
a year from now.
Yeah, we'll see what happens at the next ETH Denver. I guess we'll see. Actually, this year's ETH Denver, obviously, for most people who went there, like, it's huge. I'm like, it was way bigger in 2023. A lot of the crypto winter, got rid of a lot of companies. I think with this bear coming, next year's ETH Denver is going to be popping. And they had a ton of side events and a ton of sickness being passed around. So that's just the way that I look at it. And we'll see. But Solana had a great Breakpoint conference right after 2049. Most people have said it's actually the much better conference of the week. Token 2049, you get a lot of just VCs, a lot of projects coming around, not a ton of DeFi, but Solana was all business when it came to the Breakpoint conference. A lot of things talked about, but I want to start with one of my favorite protocols who had a lot of things to talk about, and that was Jupiter. Jupiter, the big aggregated DEX on Solana, one of my favorite protocols. Full transparency, I've got bags on Jupiter. I'm a Jupe staker. J for J, Zero Boys, hello, good to see you. They had some big things they talked about at Breakpoint. So Perps V2 is coming. For those of you who use JLP on Jupiter for their perps, they literally have 3. BTC, ETH, and Sol. That's it. And they somehow have $670 million in perp management off of that. They're obviously going to expand that. With more limit orders. They have a great DCA and limit order VA system there. They've actually upgraded their Oracle now to this Dove Oracle standard, which is, I believe, built on top of Edge from Chaos Labs, with Pyth as the backup for this. So hopefully really strong oracles and pricing around for good order book stuff. Gasless transactions for everything that's coming around. So super excited about that. They have a new RFQ system that's coming for better price quoting to the routing engine, Metropolis API platform, specifically for making developing on Solana easier. But the ones that I think are probably the most interesting, they acquired Solana FM, which is a blockchain explorer on Solana, different than Solana Scan. But for them to get this one and make this will probably be their own, and putting this in, probably hopefully making blockchain explorers much nicer to read. That would be that. There you go, meow. Make it easier to read a blockchain explorer transaction, please. And that would be fantastic. And they acquired CoinHall, which is the largest aggregated DEX in the Cosmos IBC across multiple chains. So big news there. Also, this one is one that really just kind of, well, we don't recommend using DeFi on mobile. Too many threats. But onboarding, bring it on. We need more people in the space having full on-ramp with 0 fees, full blink actions and everything, using Apple Pay, Google Pay, and a credit card into the Jupiter ecosystem. There's actually a lot of stuff already there. Like, you can actually directly link your Trezor and your ledger directly into Jupiter. Nowhere else really, but just there. So clearly Jupiter is becoming the center of gravity in Solana, in my personal opinion. And people may have different thoughts here, but they had a fantastic Breakpoint with everything going on there. Bullish on this. So are you a big Jupiter user, Robert?
I haven't really dove too much. I hold some Sol, but I haven't dove too much into the Solana ecosystem, although I am fully aware of them for sure.
Yeah, you should definitely look into Jupiter. Jupiter's great. Really happy about what they're doing. They have a couple other things that's not on this list that they have. They have a new thing called Gum, which is, I forgot exactly what gum is, but they have Fox, which is a prediction market. So they are also coming to the prediction market game. And they have Ape. Ape is their meme coin engine to help you ape into meme coins easier. It's just a smart contract you deposit Sol into, and then you can use that without exposing the rest of your wallets and portfolios to stuff like that. So I'm going to bring somebody on who is a little bit of a Solana user, somebody that we haven't had on panel for a little bit. Well-rested gentleman. We've got Keiko here, and apparently he has listed his new thing as a Pith degen. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing terrible. The fact that I joined in your shilling Jupiter's Oracle live in front of me, come on.
I was hoping you were going to be another 5 minutes. but they the Pith is the backup, right?
Yes. I know.
Yes,
I will say it is something to launch a product and then say when your product fails, we're going to use our competitor as the backup. So I'll leave it at that.
Can you talk about why you were not happy with me talking about Dove?
Well, it's a direct. Well, they're targeting a market share that is kind of a part of our clientele, but it's been in like stealth for a bit, and then obviously Wintermute is like a vocal partner of Pith as well, and they're doing a prediction market together.
Wow.
So it's a little bit of friendly competition. And then I don't know if you mentioned the Wintermute.
I have not. We talked about it last week actually.
Okay, you did, yeah.
With the election smart contract prediction market thing, yeah.
Yeah. No, it's not too bad. It's some friendly competition. We're friends with the Jupiter team and everything. We still talk, and we're helping each other. So it's not that bad. I just wanted to make fun of you.
No, that's fine. Please. I love people making fun of me. But yeah, so huge news. And again, thanks also for joining us today, Keiko.
Yeah, absolutely.
Overall, Solana also had a huge breakpoint with a lot of things, and we're going to talk about these in rapid fire mode so we can get to the best part of why these two are here. I'll just leave the link to here specifically about the things that Solana talked about. But the biggest thing from Solana, Solana Pay is being integrated with a bunch of point of sale networks coming to you very soon. So Blinks, these actions that are on chain, that these blockchain actions that you can do, really going to be making it very easy now. I saw that Singapore is one of the leaders in the world with crypto payments with more than 2 billion or something like that. I think either annually or monthly. I don't know exactly that number, so don't quote me. But the fact that you'll be able to pay using a Solana wallet, whether it be Solflare, whether it be Backpack, whether it be Fantom, very easily using your wallet at a point of sale terminal is great. These are things that are going to push things forward. They already have Shopify with Solana Pay. That's a thing. So there's good for that. We've been talking about this, and Andrew bought a Solana Saga 2 pre-order on the show like 6 months ago. They now have rebranded that phone to the Seeker with an actual Seed Vault secure enclave, right? Totally in there. Over the weekend, it was available at the 450 level for founders. It's now at 500 for the early adopter. The reason why this is important for a lot of people is because the original Solana phone, the Solana Saga 1, fairly mid-level Android device with a Web3 wallet in there, was, a bit ahead of its time, I suppose. It actually sold for $1,000. They dropped it to $600 with $550 of Bonk and a couple other, listed meme coins. This was before the Coinbase listing of Bonk. And these phones were going for like $2,000 to $5,000 on eBay just to get this. So now, if you pre-order, you will get a Genesis Soulbound token, which will be yours. So I'd probably recommend you use a burner wallet if you pay for this, if you want to keep that privacy. But you're going to get some stuff with this phone. So a lot of people are very interested. We have multiple people in our mastermind who have already purchased this. $450 for the founders. That's done now. So $500 for early adopter. You can only pay for this with crypto, if I'm not mistaken, either Sol, USDC, or ETH, I believe, are the two that you're, actually, I think BTC is allowed to. If this is a little too rich for you, well, there's another phone that's been released. This is the Jumbo phone. CJ ordered 2 of these. Oh man. This is a phone. It's very low. It's a very low tier. Honestly, it's targeted towards Africa, Asia, underserved, underbanked countries, right? And ultimately, it's got a lot of stuff going for it. Apparently, it's going to have. Yeah, there's not a whole lot going for it, but they have they have partnerships. This is now going to come with Solana stuff baked in, and they already have a great partnership with Aptos. The Petra wallet for Aptos is already baked into this ecosystem. So for $99, if you want to be like CJ and buy 2, 3, 4, these will have airdrops also tied to them. So if you're looking for a way to get some decent ROI on a lot of Aptos and Solana coins, yeah, this will get you definite ROI. Not as much as maybe this one. You'll get a lot more long-term stuff because you have stuff with, my guess is you'll get a good backpack. You'll get a good, let's see, maybe a Meteora. Maybe you'll get an additional stuff for something like Wormhole for Pith. Maybe not. But some others that are out there. The way that this, yeah, you just pre-order. It won't be coming out until next year. So keep that in mind. But, for $500, you will get some ROI. Definitely, I think more than the Jumbo phone, but just based on initial investment, this will definitely pay for itself quickly. And you can use it if you ever want like some type of anonymous mobile device for DeFi, which of course we don't recommend, but something to consider. The other thing I wanted to talk about was gaming. Also, 2 things. So a lot of people have said on the timeline, and I don't have a whole lot of stuff to really back this up, and maybe Keiko or Robert, you have something to add to this, is that Solana, with all of this infrastructure moves, with now Frankendancer and also the Fire Dancer client coming soon when all the things are building in, Solana is being looked at as a gigantic app layer that's being built on top of there that's very public facing, which will probably be very good overall for getting to the people. And of course, you all know I call Solana the people's network, and I have for a very long time, mainly because of stuff like this. So a lot of building on quote unquote the app layer for Solana is coming. And I think they're going to try and do it probably through gaming. Again, more gaming. Play Solana has a new device called the PSG-1. You can get this for $200. It looks just like a Game Boy. Also a Web3 device, by the way. So not just gaming. Again, so now you have $99, you have $500, and you got $200. To get this one, you have to go to Magic Eden, buy an NFT, and then you can burn it and redeem it for a pre-order device. Then you have to pay using Helio, which I think is just Solana and ETH and BTC. Either way.
So this is the new airdrop alpha, like buying
I was about to say, this is the new airdrop alpha, right? We went from pre-sales to like total shitcoin sniping to like buy a game thing and we'll give you an airdrop. Because we talked about the one from Sui last week. That's like a
that's legit.
That one's legit. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to buy it, but we talked about it last week. It looks like a Steam Deck or an ROG Ally. It's a little underpowered for my taste personally, as a Ryzen 7. I was like, but I mean, they're going to ride gaming like Seabiscuit at this point, because A16Z, Andreessen Horowitz, has incubated Magic Block, which is the company behind this. And I have this in the show notes, specifically if you're interested to know more about how they're going to do it through ephemeral rollups. And again, this is unique to Solana's ecosystem. You're not going to find this in EVM, but it's just an easier way to make gaming easier to do on these devices. Don't know a whole lot about it. thoughts from either of you gentlemen about how you feel about GameFi coming through on this way as opposed to what we've been seeing over the past couple of years?
I think it's a nice flavor switch up.
Yeah.
The gaming before has always been underwhelming. Like, it gets its time in the limelight, but it's usually pretty underwhelming. There's like maybe one game that is enjoyable to play and keeps users beyond like the ecosystem part of the game. Games like Pixels or like Alluvium,
Alluvium, yeah.
the big stuff, and even Alluvium is like, I don't know. Like, I don't really know what's going on there currently. It's a massive game. It has massive following, massive money behind it. But I don't know. It's still pretty underwhelming. I think there's still the foundation, like the foundational problem of how do we make a game that is enjoyable to play and will attract normies beyond crypto, but they're interacting with Web3 and blockchain technology without knowing it. And how do you then market a product to all of the Web3 users where you're hiding all of the Web3 content? It's like a very, very difficult problem. But I think like mobile devices and the Game Boys and nostalgic stuff, I actually really like the Game Boy idea. I think it's pretty niche. It probably won't last very long, but I think it's a good angle to take to make it more fun. Like, they're not leaning into AAA titles expecting like mass adoption with this Game Boy. It's just kind of a fun, it's really just like a fun cold wallet essentially. So I think it's pretty cool. I considered buying one. I thought it was pretty cool. I have like that exact Game Boy color, like the translucent purple at home back from
Oh, nice.
when I was a kid. So yeah, it's kind of nostalgic. It's like basically putting a cold wallet in it. So I thought it was pretty cool. But I don't know. Who knows if it's gonna go anywhere? And then this device, yeah, I don't even like. It's pretty much a gaming device, but where does the Web3 come into it? Like, is it necessary? I don't think so. But
no, but you'll earn rewards, right? So
yeah,
there is that.
Yeah.
And like I said, it looks cool. Is it $600 cool?
yeah.
But
it
it kind of feeds into the narrative. What are you saying, Robert? Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, I think the big question is like, what's going to be like the new model for? It's like previously it was like play to earn, which was like a Ponzi-omics that couldn't sustain itself. So
right.
Even like Keiko was saying, if you have blockchain with like really high throughput and really advanced rollups on the back end, without most gamers or consumers even knowing about it, you can earn rewards. Yeah, that's cool, and you can have technically like more ownership over your assets, in-game assets, but really, like, what's the big incentive there? I think that remains to be seen.
Yeah, and I agree. But I think the one thing that they're looking to do, and this was a staggering number. I just was, because I'm a huge tech head, as you guys know. Apple's been trying to crack the code on gaming in their ecosystem for a while, right? Apple Arcade earns like $13 billion a year. Billion. And that's just a $5 subscription to play multiple games, in their gaming catalog. So for companies to come, especially crypto companies, to come and try and make devices to try and build on the Web3 gaming thing, and now Sony coming in with Sonium on L2 and multiple game studios, being thrown money, just like what we talked about with the Arbitrum GCP, the Gaming Catalyst program. They're throwing $160 million, depending on how much ARB is worth today, gaming studios to bring multiple things to Web3. So
yeah, marketplaces, like if they can generate fees and actual revenue, that would be like like a massive paradigm shift, I think.
Yeah.
Because blockchain, crypto and blockchain companies have not. I mean, there's still not any revenue, right? For the most part,
right.
There hasn't been. So if they can build a model where they can, build out a marketplace with quality titles that big companies are interested in building on, and actually generate revenue, that's the end game.
Yeah. And to quote Susan, I know she's listening, this is a good experiment, right? Because ultimately all of this is targeting the mobile user, where most people game from these days anyway. Yes, you'll always have the PC master race and PC gaming and other things like that, but the majority of people who play games now that are willing to pay recurring microtransactions are on phones. So moving this stuff onto mobile devices. If you guys remember Sunflower Farms, which broke Polygon 2 years ago because the amount of throughput that literally doing simulated farming put on the blockchain was ridiculous. And actually, I think also, honestly, I think it kickstarted the idea that they realized Matic was kind of a failed endgame, and they needed to move to a different token because the tokenomics on the burn on Matic were so terrible. I think Sunflower Farm still lasts. It's still on Aurora, which is a near-facing EVM. And it's just, I think that they're looking for the right ways to do this. Jupiter having a full mobile thing, which I would not be shocked if it's on one of these devices, because with Blinks, it's very easy just to do all kinds of transactions from a mobile device. Do I see a SIM card in something like this? Most likely not. Although if they put an eSIM in this, I'd be like, I don't know, man, I might have to get one of these. It's just mindless something to do. So yeah, I'm excited for the future of GameFi. For those of you who know me a long time, I used to always meme about the fact that next year is going to be the bullish intersection of NFT utility and GameFi. And I've been saying that for 4 years now. We're still not going to get there in 2025.
I think the Sony announcement is a bit kind of under the radar for this.
Mm-hmm.
Sony coming into the space and throwing so much money at it and being willing to create a blockchain, I feel like says that they are willing to create an ecosystem and at least explore it for future products. Because who knows, maybe like it could even go as far as PlayStation Marketplace is now fully blockchain transactions, and your games have I don't know, some type of token associated with it, and then that's how they verify ownership. And like it stops pirating of games, because I mean you can still do that if you try hard enough. So who knows? I mean, I'm just throwing ideas, but you basically need a big company to commit to doing an on-chain ecosystem for it to really work. Like you can't just have one game that partakes in it. You need an entire ecosystem, because the value for microtransactions of like skins or maps or you name it comes from being able to use it for a long period of time, like for more than the cycle of one game, like of Call of Duty or something. You want to be able to transfer that from game to game if possible, if you're going to be spending that kind of money. In the games that I know I've talked about Counter-Strike quite a bit on this chat when it comes
CSGO
to
skins.
GameFi. It's like CSGO skins. That's the exact reason why they're so expensive. They're transferable to Counter-Strike 2. Has a full economy behind it of trading, and like it's not necessarily the most supported thing from Valve, but it's obviously existent there. And the main problem is, I think, for some of the ecosystems is for the owner or like the parent company of that ecosystem to ask, like, we're already making money doing it this way. Why do we need to put it on the blockchain? That's like the main question.
Yeah, and I think it's a matter of control, right? I mean, that right now they have a comfy setup. They have all kinds of cards you can buy at big box retailers and online to get into the economy that way. How will Roblox do something like this for their player base? Which is something that'll do. I don't know. It's more a matter of how do we get that shift over to that. So the ability to have these little devices as both gaming and possibly media consumption could be huge. Not to say that the seeds haven't been planted. There are multiple game studios that are on PlayStation that have fingers in crypto. Like there are multiple that are validators on multiple different Cosmos IBC networks. Konami, because of Konami or Capcom, one of them has an Avalanche subnet that they're testing things on. For me personally, I think it's going to take a while, but if Nintendo were willing to do it, Not saying that they're going to. Not saying that I haven't heard anything, but that might be a huge leverage point. But we'll see. Even
I think they
Valve,
were open to it, weren't they?
they're
I
open to
remember
it.
seeing, yeah, I remember seeing something. It was a while ago, probably like a
Mm-hmm.
year or two ago, that they announced like exploring Web3 or exploring
Yep.
blockchain technology with some of their games. So I
Yeah,
think,
we've
that,
covered
that
it.
goes to show the culture in Japan as well, because Sony's willing to explore it. So
Yeah, and we just talked about 2 weeks ago with Kaya, which is the mixture of both cacao and line being so huge in Japan, them becoming the next, trying to replicate what's happening on Ton, having
yeah,
games, having tap to earn, having mindless
hmm
little things on there to help build that economy. It's going to be interesting to see overall how this all works. And I apologize if anybody watching this is bored by games, but ultimately, if you're going to get the next billion people on, you have to give them a reason to come on, because not
yeah,
everybody's an investor. Not everybody cares about investing. But if you give them a reason, like, oh, hey, my kid likes to play Roblox or Minecraft or something out there. And I've seen, by the way, I've seen an interesting demo of a game that looks like Minecraft coming to one of these Solana phones, by the way. You could have a really easy way to keep people entertained, I guess would be, and having the microtransactions to back up a lot of these things. For anybody who plays mobile games, you can just go check out the whole gotcha universe of the hundreds of millions of dollars that these games are making every month. There is a healthy economy you can tap into here, and like I said, we'll see. So we'll go ahead and move over to what we've learned, because the one thing that we talked about last week was was trying to find a job in Web3. This was kind of based off of a question that was given us by Greg about how do I come in here full time. I've gotten this question a lot. A lot of people will ask. I mean, I remember at Denver, someone asked me, my son wants to get into Web3. What's the easiest way to do that? So we talked about my vantage point about the skills you'll need, the things you want to look into. If you want to learn how to do smart contracts, obviously there's a huge market for that. But half the reason I wanted to bring you guys on specifically for this panel moving forward was to kind of talk about your experience in, having jobs in Web3. Robert, you've had multiple jobs at some really big Web3 companies. Let's start with you. Let's talk about the just the experience you've seen in your interviewing process, what that's like, and the culture of working at some of these big companies. What's some things you can kind of talk about that are
Yeah,
helpful for anybody who's watching this?
absolutely. I think the first major thing that really sets it apart from looking at traditional companies, let's just say just in general, is what it really takes is just like getting into like Discord and Telegram or Twitter and having conversations with. I mean, there's more accessibility to the founders or like major players on a team than any other industry. And so you can hop into a Discord or Telegram or any sort of other social channels and like start asking questions, start making your own content, like interacting with the team, joining their AMAs, like. And so for me, by starting to really dig in on that side of things, like in early 2020, before the last bull market, that's precisely how I got on with Centrifuge, and Talisman and other and I was recently with Reserve as well, but that was more of a slightly more traditional kind of interview process. But it was the same vibe. It was the same kind of conversation where we were talking about like just having a conversation about crypto and like experience, and it was more relaxed and kind of open ended. So I would say that's like a majorly different approach that I would recommend to anybody who's interested. Is just sounds cliche, but just getting into the communities.
How about you, Keiko? Any thoughts on experience needed and just how you found just interviewing, the interview process for getting into positions like you're in?
Yes, so I second everything that Robert said. I think that is one method that is definitely probably the highest, I can't think of a word, I guess, highest
Yielding?
hit rate. Like you're
Mhm.
most likely to be able to get into a position if you're already contributing, taking time off the team's hands, showing your value, and basically just what I tell people is if you really like a project and you want to work there, just find a niche that they're not doing well and do it for them publicly. And then they will notice and they will reach out to you. And whether it's just a few tokens as a contributor, or if you keep contributing and open serious conversations to join the team, like you can do both. But I do think there is this is another route that I took that I think is probably the second best option. And I work mainly biz dev, ecosystem, relationships, accounts, and that kind of stuff. So I'm really good at finding people's contact infos and spamming them or annoying the crap out of them. that's like my thing. So that obviously helps quite a bit when you're trying to find a position. And um, basically, what you need to do is, yes, you need a good resume. Yes, you need a cover letter. But it's, in my experience, they're a necessity, but that's not going to be the make or break thing that gets you the position or not. Realistically, they don't care what is on your resume or what's in your cover letter. Those are just check boxes that need to be checked in order for you to send your application in. Most of the time, they're not really looking. Um, it's really about who you know, unfortunately. Crypto has seen a lot of competition this cycle specifically. On the business side, there's a lot of TradFi people coming in from banking institutions, VCs, hedge funds. And then on the engineering side, the tech side, there is a lot of migration from the big five like Facebook, Google, um, all of the engineers, like also high frequency traders are coming over to crypto, specifically engineers. And I mean, that's Pyth's foundation. Pyth was a jump company. So a lot of the
Oh, okay.
engineers previously worked in high frequency trading. So super competitive environment. Also business consultants, a lot of business consulting people are moving to crypto. So you need to find a way as like a crypto degen in the trenches with no experience to try to outplay these guys. So you really need to find your strength and stand out amongst them. And one thing that these guys are used to is simply sending in a resume, expecting their education and their experience to carry them into the application, which oftentimes it does. If you have, if you're Rain Man and like you're a mathlete and with crazy qualifications, you will get noticed and you could get a job. But really, you need to be DMing these people, cold messaging on LinkedIn, finding telegrams, finding emails, bugging the crap out of these guys. And I think the biggest piece of advice I have for anyone looking to join a Web3 company, both big or small, create a document that is, you can make it a template so it's easily adaptable for each company if you're doing kind of shotgun method. But this is what personally helped me join the Pyth team and have them see the value in me. I created a document of what I was going to do within the first 12 months of joining the team. And I broke it down into 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, and 12 month. And pretty much as soon as they saw that, it was game on from there because I don't need anybody to supervise me. I am pretty much an automated machine that they were able to hire and put to work immediately. So you just need to do the job beforehand and show that value to somebody in order to get the job. And trust me, you will apply to a lot of jobs, but you need to just stick it out until the one person notices you and sees the value in you, and you'll get your chance.
Persevere. Yeah.
Yep,
Or,
perseverance, grit.
at least in Keiko's, I'm not going to claim credit for all this, but we did have an episode where we did hashtag hire Keiko
Yeah.
after East Denver.
Yep.
I'm not going to say that. I'm not saying that's why he got hired, but
Yep.
Robert here also as well. Hashtag hired Robert. Get into Web3, and unfortunately, it is who you know. One thing that and I've never talked about this. One thing we wanted to do with Beacon is to have it to be an intersection of both people who are looking to invest in Web3 and also work in Web3. So we still have that that side of the group that I do want to open up. So maybe we will, with this talk here, and what we've kind of been looking on is, if you know someone who's looking to get into Web3, in my personal opinion, you got to have the foundation. Join our free group, school.com/beacon, get educated on the foundational stuff of DeFi, and that'll give you a leg up on a lot of people because they could hire anybody. But if you actually have knowledge on how these protocols work and understand how they work, that is a huge leverage, a huge chip on your shoulder you can bring with you into an interview. Like, oh yeah, I know all about what you guys do. And again, it's all about research. As Keiko said, you're gonna interview at a lot of places. You're gonna put in applications at a lot of places. A lot of these events also going to be good places to meet people. So if you have the ability to travel and go to places, shake hands. Again, it is about the connections you make, the people you know. We will be at permissionless in 2 weeks in Salt Lake City. If you're looking for a job in Web3, you want to walk the floor with me, happy to do that, introduce you to anybody that I know, and happy to give you guys the rub.
I will also be at permissionless.
Buddy.
Representing Pith. So if you would like to meet, I will be there. I will certainly be in contact with the Beacon team.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah, I'll let Andrew know. We don't have a house this time because this is a little bit of a smaller event, but we'll be there. We'll be hanging, having some good combos.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned the events. I forgot about that. Going to events with a plan to with some projects to speak with that that are going to be there. Huge. I went to Bitcoin Nashville kind of last minute. I booked a flight. The event already started. It was one day in, and I kind of said, screw it. Like, I'm going to go meet some people. And I was able to find 2 companies that were hiring and get 2 job offers within the week. So events are very, very high ROI if you can make it.
Yeah. And we'll try our best. So if we see some things, we'll spread it to the community. So again, join us. Happy to help you find the skills to get the skills you need to be, good in this role, and hopefully, you figure out the best way to get there. We've had multiple people in our groups go on to great positions. So yeah, appreciate you guys being on. This is a great talk. Hopefully everybody's watching. If you're looking at a job in Web3, this is valuable information, guys. Absolutely valuable information from both of these gentlemen. And we'll start with you, Robert. Anything you want to plug? Feel free to do so. #Hi Robert.
Plug myself.
Yeah, whatever you want to plug. Go ahead.
No, I was actually just going to add something. I was going to say it's also not a bad idea to hop on LinkedIn or Twitter and spam Web3 recruiters, because like they're financially incentivized to get you hired. And so if you strike the right note with the right one, that's a huge help as well.
Yeah. And that's a premium. I will say there's a lot of Web3 recruiters that, it's a premium for them to find candidates. And I don't know if you guys heard what I was talking about with Token 2049. There are some deep pockets with some of these companies. They're willing to pay recruiters to find the right people. So if you think you got what it takes, obviously anyone can do a variety of things in this specific industry. But if you want to stand head and shoulders above everybody else, obviously listen to the stuff we're giving here. Get educated. Easiest thing you can do. You're good to go. But what else did you want to plug? Anything, Robert, besides just yourself and your wonderful Spanish? And you're bilingual, dude. You're bilingual. That is huge, by the way.
Yeah, being bilingual is a nice thing, especially when I work in community. Community manager. Okay. So being bilingual definitely helps.
I'll make sure to put that into the responses for the stream to tag you on that. Keiko, of course, as always, good to see you, brother. Congrats, of course. And what would you like to plug?
Thank you. I'm a KOL nowadays. Just kidding, not really. But my Twitter, 0xkeiko.
Yes, sir.
I'm definitely way more active than I used to be. Shilling Pith at any chance I can get. But 0xkeiko at Twitter. I'll be at Permissionless. I'll be at Masari Mainnet as well next week.
Where's that one in?
That one's in New York City, okay. Southeast side.
Nice.
Yep. So I'll be there. I'll pretty much be at any U.S. conference. So if Pith is at a conference in the U.S., you'll see me close by for the most part. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. And Chris, I would love to chat in the DMs about the integrating hiring and recruiting into Beacon. We might have
absolutely
something to help out. I worked on in my job search. I was kind of building something myself, so we can chat in DMs.
Yeah. So if you want to learn how to get a job and you haven't joined us at Beacon, school.com/Beacon, absolutely free. Learn from the best in the business. Get great mentorship. Find an awesome community of action takers. Again, we're approaching 1,000 members. Did you know that, Keiko?
I did not know that. That's
yeah,
awesome.
We are at
Holy
900 on the dot. And we
awesome.
Feel free to join us again. We have awesome community, awesome group of people. We have our Beacon Accelerator. We now have our Beacon Spotlight. If you want to get the best farms, videos, and guides every week in here at TVL, join us. Join what we got going on. We're building the next great DeFi unicorns with regards to education. So
awesome.
Thanks everybody for being here. Excited to have you guys back on for the next panel. Again, every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern here on our YouTube, here on Twitter, and soon hopefully on Rumble. Also on Twitch. And we'll see you then. Next call will be for our school group Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern for Beat the Banks, our sub-brand where we continue to beat the banks with our fantastic talks on different topics. So with that said, see you guys next week. Beacons up, banks down. See you guys.
Yeah.
Cheers.